Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the United States Air Force Test Pilot School Class 23 Alpha graduation. I'm Colonel James Valpiani, and I have the honor to serve as Commandant of the United States Air Force Test Pilot School. My co-host this evening will be Major Ryan Lobo Forstek, Assistant Director of Operations, more commonly referred to as the Class Mom, and Major Stephen Jeeves Wakefield, the Class Leader for 23 Alpha. We have a memorable program for you today as we graduate Class 23 Alpha and celebrate our distinguished alumnus. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the colors, the playing of our national anthem, the invocation by Chaplain Heather Bodwell, and a moment of silence for our prisoners of war and missing in action.
At ease. In accordance with your faith tradition, I invite you to pray. Let us pray. Gracious God, we are thankful for the 24 graduates among us today, from active duty, Air Force and Navy, Reserve, civilian status, and our international graduates from Finland and France, who are graduating from Test Pilot School, Class of 23 Alpha. We thank you for the opportunities you have given to them during their academics and training, and for the response they have made to better themselves by pursuing challenges corresponding with their knowledge and abilities. We also thank you for the support of their instructors, leadership, peers, and for the love and support from their families and friends. They are here ready to accept new opportunities and responsibilities. We are proud of their achievements to date, but at the same time humbled at the thought of the expanded service that these responsibilities will entail. When they're tired, give them rest and then energy. When they're angry, give them patience. When they're under stress, give them balance, so that they can discharge their duties with renewed dedication. Let them be a model for those who follow them and an encouragement to those who depend on them. Bless them and their families as they continue their duties, assignments, and over life's journey. Bless the leadership of the Test Pilot School, Edwards Air Force Base, Air Force Test Center, and our nation's leadership. Bless also the dinner and fellowship that we have enjoyed during this graduation ceremony. And we pray all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Blue Eagles Honor Guard and Chaplain Bodwell. As you entered the dining area, you may have noticed a table at the front. It is reserved to honor our missing comrades in arms. I would like to ask you for a moment of silence as we remember our comrades. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. A table set for one, the empty place represents our missing from the United States military. This honor ceremony symbolizes that they are with us here in spirit. Some here in this room were very young when they were sent into combat. However, all Americans should never forget the brave men and women who answered our nation's call to serve and served the cause of freedom in a special way. I would like to explain the meaning of the items on this special table. The table is round to show our everlasting concern for our missing. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call to duty. The single red rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the life of each of the missing and their loved ones and friends of those Americans who keep the faith, awaiting answers. The vase is tied with a yellow ribbon, symbol of our continued determination to account for our missing. A slice of lemon on the bread plate is to remind us of their bitter fate of those captured and missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears endured by those missing and their families who seek answers. The glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share this evening's toast. The chair is empty, they are missing. Please stand as we raise our water glasses to honor America's POW MIA and to the success of our efforts to account for them. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
I would like to start by recognizing a few of our distinguished guests. Please hold your applause until they've all been introduced. Major General Evan Derteen, Commander, Air Force Test Center, and his wife, Mrs. Erica Derteen. Colonel Douglas Wickert, Commander, 412th Test Wing. Colonel Matthew Caspers, Deputy Commander, 412th Test Wing, and his wife, Mrs. Sally Caspers. Mr. David Van Hoy, Technical Director, United States Air Force Test Pilot School, and his wife, Mrs. Helida Van Hoy. Colonel Select Marianne Carlin, Deputy Commandant, United States Air Force Test Pilot School, and her husband, Mr. John Carlin. Colonel Ryan Sanford, Commander, 412th Operations Group, and his wife, Mrs. Erica Sanford. Lieutenant Colonel Dimitri Drobis, École du Personnel Navigant d'Essai et de Réception, EPNER, Director. Mr. Patrice Gaillon, École du Personnel Navigant d'Essai et de Réception, EPNER, Executive Officer. Major Henry Isoyeve, Flight Test Element Leader, Finnish Air Force. Master Sergeant Theo Dinwiddie, Senior Enlisted Leader, United States Air Force Test Pilot School. And our guest speaker, Colonel Robert Hines, United States Air Force, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, astronaut. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to the family members, commanders, and friends of Class 23 Alpha who are joining us today in person, as well as those watching the ceremony virtually. A special thank you to the people who organized this event, the Class of 23 Alpha Graduation Committee, the TPS staff, Public Affairs, Multimedia team, and Club Mirag for the delicious food.
In keeping with TPS tradition, each graduating class selects the best of the best from among the TPS staff and aircraft maintenance personnel for their outstanding support throughout the year. Earlier this week, we recognized the amazing folks that helped our year run smoothly. The award winners are displayed on the screen. If those individuals are here tonight, please stand to be recognized. The Distinguished Alumnus Award is presented to a prior United States Air Force Test Pilot School graduate, selected by the graduating class that recognizes the incredible contributions of the individual to the flight test community. This person had a direct impact on Class 23 Alpha as an instructor at TPS. Their dedication to the flight test profession was ever present in their instruction. They stressed the importance of challenging the norm and uncompromisingly showed Class 23 Alpha how to become the best test professionals and officers they could become. For his significant and lasting contributions to aviation science, Class 23 Alpha has chosen David Super Harris, Major General, United States Air Force, retired, to receive the Distinguished Alumnus Award. Major General Harris was unable to join us this evening, but was presented the Distinguished Alumnus Award earlier this week. Please join me in a round of applause for our distinguished alumnus. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to introduce our guest speaker, Colonel Bob Farmer Hines, United States Air Force. Bob Hines was selected by NASA to join the 2017 astronaut candidate class. He reported to the astronaut office in August of 2017. He has served more than 23 years in the United States Air Force as an instructor pilot, fighter pilot, and a test pilot. Before his selection in 2017, he was serving as a research pilot at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. He has accumulated more than 4,000 hours of flight time in 50 different types of aircraft and has flown 76 combat missions in 3 different aircraft types while supporting contingency operations around the world. Hines served as the pilot on NASA's SpaceX Crew 4 mission to the International Space Station, which concluded on October 14, 2022. The mission was the first space flight for Hines. He logged 170 days in space, overseeing the arrival of crew and cargo, maintaining the space station, and conducting science experiments of various disciplines. Farmer graduated from Crestwood High School in Mountaintop, Pennsylvania in 1993. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Aerospace Engineering from Boston University in 1997. He graduated from United States Air Force Test Pilot School in 2008, where he was awarded a Master of Science in Flight Test Engineering. He went on to complete a Master of Science degree in Aerospace Engineering from the University of Alabama in 2010. In the same year, he graduated from the United States Air Force Air Command and Staff College. Farmer also is a graduate of the United States Air Force Air War College. Upon graduation from Boston University, Farmer worked as a telecommunications engineer at Fidelity Investments, Boston, Massachusetts. After being accepted to the United States Air Force Officer Training School, he received his commission as a second lieutenant in 1999. He went on to attend specialized undergraduate pilot training at Columbus Air Force Base, Mississippi. Upon completion of pilot training, he attended United States Air Force pilot instructor training and returned to Columbus Air Force Base as a T-37 instructor pilot, where he became a rare first tour evaluator pilot. Farmer's next assignment was to the mighty F-15E Strike Eagle. Following initial F-15E training at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, North Carolina, Farmer and his family moved to the Royal Air Force Lakenheath, United Kingdom, where he flew missions throughout Europe supporting the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. He also deployed to the Middle East and Africa in support of Operations Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom. While at RAF Lakenheath, he was selected to attend United States Air Force Test Pilot School at Edwards Air Force Base as a part of Class 07 Bravo. Farmer's follow-on test assignment was to Eglin Air Force Base, where he served as a F-15C, D, and E experimental test pilot. He was also selected to fly the U-28 on an overseas deployment in support of Special Operations Forces. Farmer went on to serve 2 assignments with the Air Force Reserves while acting as a flight test pilot for the Federal Aviation Administration. In the reserves, he served as a wing plans officer for the 147th Fighter Wing at Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base, Fort Worth, Texas, and the first F-15 Developmental Test Program Director with the 84th Test and Evaluation Squadron at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, where he continued to perform flight tests on all models of F-15. In 2012, he was selected as a research pilot at NASA's Johnson Space Center. In this role, he qualified as an instructor in the T-38N. He also flew science missions in the WB-57 and the Gulfstream G3, as well as parabolic missions in the C-9. In 2017, he was selected as an astronaut candidate. Following ASCAN training, Farmer was assigned to the Exploration Office, where he served as the astronaut technical lead for Orion, as well as astronaut representative on the Orion Cockpit Working Group. Upon establishment of the Human Lander System program, he served as a handling qualities and flight control specialist. He also assisted human landing systems teams in cabin design and human factors assessments for the next generation of lunar modules. Farmer completed his first spaceflight as a pilot on NASA's SpaceX Crew 4 mission. Having logged a total of 170 days in space over his 2 increments, Expeditions 67 and 68. Following his spaceflight, Farmer became the lead for the Commercial Crew Program's Joint Test Team and the assistant to the Chief for Commercial Crew. In these roles, Farmer is the technical authority leading astronaut development and testing of Boeing CST-100 Starliner, the SpaceX Crew Dragon, and any future human-rated spacecraft under NASA's Commercial Crew program. This includes integration, design, and testing with the International Space Station and testing in support of NASA's Commercial Low Earth Orbit Development Program. He also continues to support the Artemis program in various capacities, such as conducting manual piloting tests on Orion and lunar payload development. Farmer completed his first spaceflight as a mission specialist on NASA's SpaceX Crew 4 mission, serving as a flight engineer on Expeditions 67 and 68 aboard the International Space Station. Farmer logged a total of 170 days in space during the mission. He and his crewmates conducted hundreds of hours of science investigation and saw the arrival of 5 visiting vehicles to the space station, both crew and cargo. This was the 4th commercial crew rotation mission and the first flight of the Crew Dragon Freedom spacecraft. Farmer, the stage is yours.
Well, that concludes my briefing. Thank you for that amazing introduction. I knew that there's things in there I didn't know about myself, so appreciate that. No, it is amazing to be here. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you to the leadership, General Dertine, Colonel Wickert, Colonel Caspers. Sir, got to be formal. Colonel Valpiani. Thank you guys for being such gracious hosts for the last few days while I've been here. It's been great being back at Edwards. It's been longer than I care to admit since I've been back here. I came back once during COVID, but I don't think that one counts. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Class 23 Alpha, for reaching out and asking me to do this. Colonel Caspers and I were classmates here in 07 Bravo way back in the day, and our graduation speaker was Bob Hoover. The previous classes was General Yeager. And so I do not feel worthy at all to be standing up on the stage talking to you guys, but I am incredibly honored and incredibly humbled by the opportunity to be here. So thank you to you guys for that. You basically covered all of my how I got here kind of stuff. So I'll talk a little bit about my mission, just because it seems to be something that a lot of people like to hear about, how our mission goes, what we do. I'll talk a little bit about the future of NASA and the skill sets that you guys are learning and have learned, and how those apply to things that are beyond some of the scope of what maybe you might be thinking right now. So first and foremost, I'm a husband and a father, and this is my family. They have made tons of sacrifices, as have all of your families that are out here in the audience today. So quick nod to them for making those sacrifices and enabling me to do the cool things that I've gotten to do. Obviously, those sacrifices are much harder on the families a lot of times than the ones that we have to make as well. So I always make it a point to acknowledge that right off the bat. We've covered most of this already. I was a T-37 FAPE at Columbus, went on to fly the Strike Eagle, came here to test pilot school, and then down to Eglin. Did a quick little stint in the U-28, and then these are just a couple of the airplanes that I got to fly during my stint as a NASA research pilot. And then serendipity happened, and was able to find a reserve job at the same time that Eglin was looking for somebody to become a flight test director, so that they had a little more continuity down there. And so that worked out really well. It was a cool chance to get to partake and keep doing that. And I had to pinch myself, because for a time there I was qualified in 6 or 7 different airplanes, and they were all completely different. It wasn't like an airline guy that's 757 and 767. You can see these are all very, very different types of airplanes. So pretty cool opportunity to do that. And then in 2017, after a 1.5 year long process, got selected to join the 22nd group of NASA astronauts. We became known as the Turtles. That's what our senior class named us. Teamed up with these other 11 amazing individuals from various walks of life to embark on this amazing adventure. So super privileged to get to do it. Lots of people want to know what the path is to become an astronaut, and there are many paths. There are not just one. And even though the test community is a path, even after test pilot school, there are multiple paths for which you can end up landing here. These are qualifications of a lot of the people in my class, and several of them, filled more than one square. Has anybody heard of Johnny Kim? Yeah, it chuckles. Yeah, he's sickening. So he was a Navy SEAL, went to med school. He was a doctor, and then he got selected to be an astronaut. Navy SEAL, doctor, astronaut. That's a pretty good resume right there. And then when it was apparent that his space flight, he wasn't going to get assigned to a space flight for a little while, the Navy went and sent him to flight school. So now he's a Navy SEAL, a doctor, and a Navy pilot, and an astronaut. So I don't know. There's no keeping up with some people. I don't know how he fits all these badges on his uniform either. But just amazing people. We have all different kinds of disciplines up there, all flavors of engineers and scientists. We've got 2 teachers. In fact, the chief of our office right now is a former high school science teacher. We've even got 1 veterinarian in the astronaut corps. But we all come together, we become a solid team, and that's kind of the goal through the entire 2-year process. It kicks off 2 years of training, which they call astronaut candidacy. We cover all different kinds of topics, lots of different, so it's kind of like the first couple of years in college where you get these core classes and a whole bunch of different topics. It's kind of like that. So we're hitting biology, microbiology, geology, lots of ologies. We're also flying jets. We're learning how to do spacewalks, how to handle robotics outside the space station, as well as learning how to maintain and operate the space station itself. After about 2 years, we graduate. A couple folks get assigned right away. The rest of us get assigned technical jobs in the astronaut office. I got assigned, as you heard earlier, I got assigned to be the Orion technical lead. Got to partake in the cockpit working group, and we were working on display designs of Orion, as well as layout of the overall cabin for anything that the crew can touch and use. So really cool to learn the process and start learning how NASA as an agency effectively does acquisitions, and it's way different than what we do here in DoD. So seeing an entirely different system for how you acquire, design, acquire, test was pretty interesting. And then the administration, the presidential administration at the time announced we're going to go back to the moon. We stood up the human lander program and solicited for proposals for the lunar lander designs, the next generation of them. So I got to be part of that team as well, becoming the handling qualities and the human factors SME from the astronaut office, where we got to work with the initial design proposals for all of these companies. So incredibly unique opportunity. A lot of us at NASA, and I think you guys can all understand it, right? If you look back at the Apollo era, if you talk to anybody that had an opportunity to partake in the Apollo program in any small way, you'd think how amazing it was and how fortunate they were to be a part of that amazing thing. And here we are on the precipice of doing the same kind of thing. And so we all feel incredibly lucky to be able to be a part of that. It's pretty special. Did that for a couple years, and then in January 21, got a phone call from the boss asking if I wanted to be a pilot on the Crew 4 mission to the space station. So of course I said yes, and got teamed up with the rest of my crew here. Dr. Kjell Lindgren is over here on the right. He's an Air Force Academy grad physician. He was the commander of our vehicle. I was the pilot. And then our two mission specialists, Jessica Watkins was one of my classmates. So just amazing opportunity to get to go fly with another rookie. And you know, someone you've trained very closely with and spent a lot of time with, to get to go fly in space and share that experience together was really amazing. And then Samantha Cristoforetti is an Italian astronaut, Italian Air Force with the European Space Agency. And the four of us then make up what is known as Crew 4. And so that's the up and down mission to the space station. Once we're on board the space station, we're part of an expedition, and we pair up with our cosmonaut colleagues from Russia, and we become an expedition. We are expedition number 67. This kicks off another year and a half of training in similar categories to what we do during astronaut candidacy, but this is laser focused on the stuff that we'll be doing during our mission. So more training. You can see I spent a lot of time of training in my career. And near the end of that, our launch kept slipping and slipping and slipping, but eventually April 27th rolls around and we get to go to space. Very early on in our training, though, we found out that we were going to get to fly the first flight of a brand new vehicle, which was pretty cool because Kjell and I got to go to Hawthorne. They have a little area there called the Dragon's Lair. SpaceX, they're clever with things like that. So the Dragon Lair is where dragons are born. And we got to go see this thing when it was just a metal weldment. There was nothing on it, no cuts, no holes in it. It was just a big piece of metal. And then every time we went out there for training, we got to go visit it and see it grow and become the full-grown dragon ready to go fly that you see here. So pretty special opportunity. And then we launched about a month after the Ukraine invasion happened. And so we had the opportunity to name our vehicle since we were the first crew to fly it. And we decided to name it Freedom in honor of the values that we hold so dear. And to just kind of make that statement that is still something that's very important to us. So April 27th finally rolls around, and we get to launch to space. You'll see we'll come out of the doors here. Our families are right behind the cameras, and that's the last chance we get to see them say goodbye before we head off on our mission.
The astronauts of Crew 4 getting ready to go to space.
What do we got here?
1, 2, 3, 4!
All right, after that very clever cheer, 1, 2, 3, 4, we head on out to the rocket, ride the elevator up, climb in. SpaceX folks then close the hatch. They give us a wave through the window, and then we're ready to go on our way.
1, 0. Ignition.
The ride uphill is incredible. It's 8.5 minutes. The last 90 seconds are insane. The amount of acceleration that you're feeling. And then instantaneously the engines shut off and you look out and the Earth is floating by underneath you. We set a record for the fastest rendezvous 15 hours after we launched. We flew up over the top of Space Station and docked on the overhead compartment.
Crew 4 astronauts on board.
And after a short handover with the previous crew, we meet up with our cosmonaut colleagues and we run the space station for the next 6 months. The main reason we're up there is to conduct science. It's a national laboratory. At any given time, there are 250 to 300 different experiments going on. And they cover the gamut of science, whether it be biology, microbiology, materials science. We study how flames propagate across different materials in zero-G. We look at fluid mechanics, capillary action. This is looking at how the human body handles orientation and position interpretation with the lack of a gravity vector. We also got some experiments that are outside the space station. So there's a small airlock that we can use that pushes things outside. We can grab it with a robotic arm and then point it where it needs to go and send them things out into orbit. So we can have sensors and science payloads that are doing experiments out there in orbit. You saw a couple of robots out there. We train those things to do some mundane tasks that we don't like to do. This was one of my favorites, was learning to grow plants in space. Lots of big benefits for us when we start pushing further into the solar system, but also big payoffs down here on Earth as that technology matures. Some of our busiest times up there are when these cargo vehicles arrive. They carry anywhere from 6,000 to 12,000 pounds worth of cargo. So when they get there, we have to offload all that cargo. And then in the case of a SpaceX Dragon, which can return home, we'll have to load it back up with either science experiments or hardware that we need to send back to get repaired. The other ones we just fill up with trash. Once they're empty, we fill them all the way up with trash and send them back. They burn up in the atmosphere. So if you guys are looking outside, you see a shooting star, it could just be our dirty underwear burning up as it comes back in. Careful what you wish upon. That was the Boeing Starliner. That was the first docking up there, so it was pretty cool to be there for the first time. That was an uncrewed launch. Next one's going to be in April. We are not only working up there, right? That's our home for 6 months, and so we've got some downtime. We have some time to just play around and enjoy being up there in zero gravity. So we'll never pass up an opportunity to just experiment with things. This is just a water bubble we squeeze out of a water bag. You blow an air bubble inside it. We did things like add food coloring to it just to see what would happen. Never passing up that chance to really explore. Space is really, really hard on the human body, though. Our bones lose density, our muscles atrophy, and so we work out for 2.5 hours every single day to stave off those effects. And so that's a big effort to make sure that we're strong and healthy when we come back home. But of course, what would be living in space and working in space without looking out the window? It is an incredible opportunity to get to see the planet from that perspective, to look down on it and see it as the oasis of life that it is out there in the universe. There is not anything else that we can see that's more beautiful than that planet. And I used to say that my favorite planets were Jupiter or Saturn, and after being in space, I'll say it's Earth.
SpaceX on the big loop, all looks open.
And after 170 days, it's time for us to come home. So our replacement crew comes up, we overlap for a little while, we give them the keys, and then we hop in our vehicle and get ready to come back home. We set another record coming back home. 4.5 hours after undock, we were splashing down. The sense of speed during deorbit was incredible. It felt like we were skimming the cloud tops. And then as we come over Florida, there is no better sight than seeing those orange and white parachutes after you've been falling for that long. SpaceX was really quick to get us out of the water. They get us out of our suits. We ride a helicopter from the boat to land, and then we pick up the NASA airplane, which brings us back to Houston. That door opens. That's the first time we see our friends and family, and it's an incredibly cool tradition. The astronaut office comes out even in the middle of the night to greet us and welcome us home, and it's a great chance for us to thank them for supporting us and our families while we've been gone. And this cycle continues. The space station just recently celebrated 23 continuous years of human presence in space. So there are, I go to colleges and universities, and there are kids there who have not known a day where there hasn't been an American in space. And that's a pretty incredible thing to think about. One of the really unique things about going through this and being able to achieve a lifelong dream like this is an opportunity for reflection and looking at how you got here. And I encourage all of you, as you guys embark on this amazing career, this next phase of your career, is step back and think about that. And think about the people that have contributed to your life and the things that you've been able to achieve in order to get here. None of us have got here on our own, right? We've all got friends and family and coaches and mentors, prior commanders that have all helped us along the way to develop into the people and the leaders that we are and have enabled you to achieve this amazing thing that you guys are doing tonight. So I just encourage you to take time every now and then and step back. I waited way too long. It wasn't until I had this job really where I did that. And then when I looked back, it was shocking to me just to realize how many people really impacted me in a really big way. For the future of NASA, obviously we're looking to go to Mars. That's our big goal. That's the thing that we really have our eyes set on over the long haul. We have spent 40 years in low Earth orbit. That's 250 miles above the Earth. So that's not that far, right? You know, we drive 250 miles without really thinking about it. So we've done that. We haven't ventured out to the moon in 40 years. We haven't really left the presence of the Earth, and we are Earth dependent. Everything we do is dependent on supplies from the Earth. We saw all those cargo vehicles that are coming up. We've gotten really good at some things. We are really good at doing spacewalks. We're really good at operating vehicles close to each other in space. We're really good at managing the physiological effects. But there are a lot of challenges with being Earth independent that we have not figured out yet. And we have a long road to go in order to figure these things out. That is a whole other hour-long presentation to talk about all of those. But I would like to draw your attention to the first one, if you guys can read it. And I think that this is, I don't know if I would call it an engineering challenge, but it is definitely a huge challenge in our time, and I encourage all of you to start thinking about this, is where is the appropriate line for automation and AI in a crewed vehicle? Because when there are people on the vehicle, there are already movements to go and take everything out of the hands of people and all the decisions being made by AI. And I'm not the one that has that answer. I feel like that's an ethical question that we are going to have to answer as a society, and it's going to happen more and more. I know we're doing it and we're looking at it in terms of drones and weapons employment and those kinds of things, but that stuff is starting to move into the actual vehicles that we're sitting in, and whether or not we have veto authority on an AI decision and that kind of thing are really, really important. And colleges and universities are not really talking about it that much. They are kind of the ones that I've gone out and talked to. They're not really sure what to do with this yet. And so we have a whole generation of people that are coming up right now that are aware of it, but we're not really talking a lot about how these things play into the vehicles and the systems that we're developing. So I just encourage you to think about that, because I think that's a big thing that we're going to be dealing with over the coming years. So going to Mars is hard. So before we go there, we're going to go here. We're going to do it as part of the Artemis program. Artemis is the twin sister of Apollo in Greek mythology. Apollo, of course, is the program that took us to the moon back in the 60s and the 70s. Artemis is taking us back to the moon, but this time, instead of flags and footprints, we're going back, and we're going back to stay. We've got many countries signed up as part of the Artemis Accords, and so we are leading the world back to the moon, and we're going back in a sustained way. Our goal is to go back to the lunar South Pole, or the area of the lunar South Pole. We have sensors that have told us that there is water ice in permanently shadowed regions. And so where do you find permanently shadowed regions? You find them at the poles. And so if we can go down there, we can find that water. We can break that water into its hydrogen and oxygen. What's that? That's rocket fuel. And then we can use the oxygen also for life sustainment, life support. And so really valuable information down there. And then the geologists, there's a lot of really interesting geology down there. And because the moon is not as dynamic as the Earth is, they can glean information about the history of the solar system by us going down there as well. So South Pole is the target. That's where we're trying to go. And it's really happening. A lot of people in my generation have been watching PowerPoints and fancy movies for a really long time that have been talking about a lot of these things, but they're actually happening right now. Orion we talked about already. That's the spacecraft that's taken humans back to the vicinity of the moon. The rocket over here is the Space Launch System, the SLS. So Orion is sitting right up there inside that little fairing, and it launched for the first time last November. It was an uncrewed launch from Cape Canaveral. It went out and it flew one lap around the moon, came back, and it was an incredibly successful test flight and took this amazing selfie from a camera out on one of its solar arrays. So this is Orion, that's the moon, and that's the Earth. Just an incredible perspective to see. And the next time we do this will be Artemis 2. So that'll launch in about 2 years. We've got 4 crew members that are assigned to that. It'll do a very similar profile where it goes out 1 lap around the moon and come back home. They're going to be testing things like handling qualities, the manual control, and the life support systems on the vehicle. So that's Artemis 2. The next landing after that, we're going to the moon. We're going to go land on the moon. We've got 2 companies on the hook to build lunar landers. SpaceX is building one, this gigantic version of their Starship. So this is the size of a water tower, to kind of put that in perspective. I don't know if you can see the little people down here at the bottom. But the flight deck is up here. It's about 10 stories high, and right under that is what they call a garage, a big cargo area. And the rest of that is all fuel. That thing is a beast. So SpaceX is one, and Blue Origin has been hired as the other contractor to build a lunar lander. They are set up mostly to do the sustained operations, where they are basically a ferry going back and forth. It's a reusable vehicle that goes back and forth between the surface of the moon and up to lunar orbit, where the Gateway will be waiting for them. Gateway is a miniature space station which will be orbiting the moon, and it's kind of like a bus stop. So the lunar landers will launch out of Earth, they'll park themselves here well ahead of the crew, and then the crew launches out, comes and parks here, and transfer over to the other vehicles, where they then go to and from the surface of the Earth. The hardware for this is already being built. The power propulsion element is in a vacuum chamber going under testing right now, supposed to launch in the next couple of years. Then the habitation module is over in Europe. That thing's almost done as well. That should be launching in the next year and a half or 2 years. And that thing is really close to being ready to go. Lots of other development programs. We've got new spacesuits that we're developing, trying to get more mobility out of the suit, carry these life support systems, bring some more technology along with us to where we can have maybe a HUD technology that projects information on the visor, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all those kinds of things we're trying to incorporate into the next generation of spacesuits. You can see here, though, both of these companies, this is Axiom and this is Collins, they are developing suits that allow us to do things, simple stuff like bend over and pick up a rock. If you've ever watched videos of the Apollo astronauts, if they fell over, it was a comical exercise for them to try and get back up on their feet. And those are the things we're trying to avoid here with these new spacesuits. We've got lunar rovers. This is the Lunar Terrain Vehicle. It's like an unpressurized lunar rover. That contract is supposed to be awarded any day now. We got a pressurized rover that the Japanese Space Agency will be building for us. And so we're working on development of that thing. We're in the final design stages of that. And then we are in the very early conceptual stages of what we want to do for habitats. And so there's lots of people sitting around trying to figure out what are the things that we can do robotically, what do the humans need to do, what kind of capabilities do habitats have to have in order to sustain that human presence. And so all of this is really developing this technology that allows us to not only do the sustained operations on the moon, but allow us to push forward into Mars, hopefully in the 2030s. And so why do I tell you guys all of this stuff? You know, you guys just finished a year-long course learning the fundamentals of flight tests, learning about test philosophy. But the other piece to this is that we are working with contractors. I said the word contract a lot of times during this. We're working with contractors. We have NASA civilians as well as military all working on these different programs from countries all around the world. And those are some of the soft skills that you guys are going to be learning and building upon as you move out into your test careers. You'll be working with joint teams, you'll be working with defense contractors, you'll be working with civilians, and you have to figure out how to get all of those teams working together, speaking a common language. Maybe you have to be the translator, but all focused on a common goal in order to be successful. And so those skills are incredibly valuable. That's the same kind of stuff we're doing at NASA as well. So with that, I've got a couple parting thoughts for you guys. They're not profound, but they're things that I think are worth keeping in mind. First one is keep in mind who your customer is. You will undoubtedly be asked to compromise things in the name of cost, schedule, or politics. always keep in mind who your customer is, right? Whether it be the air crew, the war fighter, whoever, keep in mind who your customer is. Make the hard decisions, make the hard calls, and don't be afraid to send that uphill. There are other people that are paid to make decisions based on those other things, but just remember who the customer is, and make sure you're supporting them and giving them the best product possible. This, I think, is the most important one. The Air Force has a way of taking the fun out of everything. Anything, I should say. But it is really important, right? There is no shortage of work for us to do out there. And you can go, and the system will let you go at 120% for your entire career. Make sure you're taking care of your families and your support system. I mentioned earlier, right? None of us got to be in this room by ourselves. We had a family and a support system that helped us along the way, that sacrificed for us, that encouraged us. Take care of them. Make sure that you have surge capacity, because there will come a time when your country calls upon you to surge, and you need to have the ability to surge. And if you're doing that all the time, you're not going to be able to sustain it. Taking care of your families and your support system is really, really important. And so make sure that's in your cross-check. And then finally, enjoy the ride. I mean, like I said, the Air Force sometimes can take the fun out of the coolest things. When I was at Lakenheath as a flight commander, the ops tempo there was really, really high. It was an amazing place to be, but the ops tempo was really high, and morale could get pretty low. And I would tell my guys that if they were feeling that way, let me know, and we'll get them a jet and send them to an air show. Because I tell you what, when you stand in front of a jet at an air show and you have anyone from 4 years old to 84 years old coming up and saying, you are doing what I've always wanted to do, it gives you a perspective on things, and it totally changes your outlook that you are so fortunate. And all of you right now that have the shiny blue patches on your shoulder, and even those that have the worn, dingy patches that have been there for a while, you guys are all doing something that countless people want to be doing. You are so lucky and so fortunate. You have an amazing chance and amazing experiences in front of you. So take that time every now and then to step back, look at what you're doing, be proud of what you're doing, and make sure you're enjoying the ride. It is great to continue to have big goals and keep shooting for things and striving for them, but every now and then take that step back and go, man, this is an amazing spot that I'm in right now. And you guys have such an amazing future. There's so many cool things. I come in here, like I said, I haven't been to Edwards in a while, but I got to see the B-21 taxiing. There's F-35s and Raptors everywhere. KC-46 on the ramp. I mean, it is incredible to be out here. So there's so much exciting stuff that you guys are getting to be a part of. Just make sure you're really valuing that journey and really enjoying it. And then your class is the other part of that, because you guys, that is your network, right? TPS has built you your network, and you guys are all going to go out into the far reaches of AFMC and the test world, internationally even, and you will have resources all over the world that you can use. And so make sure you use them, and make sure you are keeping in touch, because that's probably the most valuable thing that you get out of test pilot school, is that network of people. So with that, I will hand the stage back over. I really appreciate the honor of being here and speaking with you guys. Congratulations, you guys have an amazing time in front of you. What an amazing accomplishment finishing test pilot school, and thank you all. Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of Class 23 Alpha, I'd like to present you with a little token of our appreciation. That's awesome.
The graduating class consists of 11 experimental test pilots, 10 flight test engineers, 1 experimental test weapons system officer, and 2 experimental test remotely piloted aircraft pilots. Included amongst our graduates are the finest from our own United States Air Force, United States Navy, United States Space Force, as well as the Finnish Air Force and the French Air Force. These students have completed one of the most demanding courses in the world. Each student completed over 2,500 hours of academics and 120 hours of flight training. Each student had 6 hours per day of instructor contact time, not including academic and flight preparation time. As a final graduation exercise, the students demonstrated learning from across the curriculum by planning and executing real-world test management projects. Students, please stand as your test management project, also known as the TMP, is presented. Class 23 Alpha's projects included the Viper GPT TMP. This TMP investigated a preliminary flight test framework to integrate AI and basic fighter maneuvers in the first ever live human versus live AI BFM engagements. The team accomplished 69 total test points across 9 two-ship missions in the X-62A Vista and a target F-16, totaling 22 hours of test time. The student team also successfully integrated a diverse group of project planners, including the DARPA Air Combat Evolution Program, Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, EPISci, SHIELD AI, the University of Iowa Operator Performance Lab, Lockheed Martin ADP, and CalSpan. Team members included First Lieutenant Gordon Felon McCullough as project manager, and flight test engineer Captain Lane Grinnan Barrett and Mr. Brian B. Hopton as flight test engineers. Lieutenant Orion Big Papa Florette, Major Richard Cal Tyner, and Major Robert Slab Ritchie as test pilots. The Have iFriends TMP investigated the utility of the Red 6 Advanced Tactical Augmentation Reality System, ATARS, for a military training environment. The team partnered with Red 6 and the 586 Flight Test Squadron to demonstrate physical compatibility, characterize virtual entity accuracy, and compare ASTAR's augmented reality training to traditional training techniques. 7 sorties were flown in T-38s, including formation and simulated aerial refueling behind a KC-135 tanker. Team members included Major Edward Odin Arts as project manager and test pilot, Captain Jacob Moab Olson and Captain Alex Boost Brown as flight test engineers, and Major Aaron Fuji Seafried and Major Brad Slate Hovey, and Captain Sammy Sloth Nisanen as test pilots. The HAVE Mufasa TMP performed lab calibration, ground testing, and flight testing of the state-of-the-art fiber optic sensing system on board a C-12. The team partnered with Luna Innovations and NASA Armstrong to test fiber optic temperature, strain, accelerometer, and pressure sensors and compare them to legacy systems. The team also demonstrated the Hyperion sensor integrator, which could individually integrate sensors installed in series, greatly reducing the installation complexity of future systems. Team members included Captain Guy Tiger Chodaro as project manager and test pilot, Major Hadrian Koo Schneider, Captain Horatio Ifok Babcock, and First Lieutenant Noah Blue Diamond as flight test engineers, Major Kevin Cyclops Uenton as test weapon system officer, and Major Stephen Jeeves Wakefield as test pilot. HAVE Silk was a classified TMP
student performers. Through a combination of graded flying events, academic exams, and reports, as well as ratings from their classmates, a few individuals are honored for the unique success and contributions to TPS and the graduating class. Each of these recipients will receive a personal plaque and have their name inscribed on a trophy displayed at the school. As your name is called, please join me on stage to receive your award. The first award, the Aaron C. George Warrior Award, recognizes the student who most exemplified the warrior-focused attitude to field the best weapon system possible. This award is voted on by members of each class and presented to the student who always remembered the reason why we are here, the operator in the field. The award is named in honor of Major Aaron C. George, Class 99 Bravo, who was lost while flying an F-16 photo chase mission with the 416th Flight Test Squadron. TPS Class 99 Bravo has set up a permanent display at Test Pilot School, a Mark 82 500-pound bomb engraved with the names of the award recipients. The recipient of the Aaron C. George Warrior Award is Major Kyle Rolex Schwartz. Congratulations, Rolex. The second award, the Ellison Onizuka Prop Wash Award, is given to the one person who contributed the most to class spirit and morale. Captain Onizuka won the award for TPS Class 74 Bravo, and it was subsequently renamed in his memory after he was lost in the Space Shuttle Challenger tragedy. The recipient of the Onizuka Prop Wash Award is First Lieutenant Gordon Felon McCullough. Congratulations, Felon. The third award, the Lethan Tittle Award, recognizes the class's most outstanding test pilot graduate. The award is named after Major Frank Lethan, TPS Class 61 Charlie, who was lost in 1966 while flying with the Thunderbirds, and Major David Tittle, TPS Class 55 Delta, who was lost in 1966 while testing the XV-5 vertical takeoff and landing aircraft at Edwards. The recipient of the Lethan Tittle Award is Major Kyle Rolex Schwartz. Congratulations, Rolex. The fourth award, the Raymond L. Jones Award, is presented to the most outstanding flight test engineer or combat systems officer graduate. The award is named for Colonel Raymond L. Jones, a former staff instructor and deputy commandant of the Test Pilot School. He was instrumental in the formulation of the flight test engineering program. The recipient of the Raymond L. Jones Award is Major Hadrian Coop Schneider. Congratulations, Schneider. The final recognition is given for individual distinction. The students of Class 23 Alpha have worked extremely hard during this past year, with 4 students earning the title of Distinguished Graduate. When your name is called, please stand to be recognized. The distinguished graduates of Class 23 Alpha are Major Edward Odin Arts, Major Kyle Rolex Schwartz, Major Hadrian Koo Schneider, and Major Stephen Jeeves Wakefield. Congratulations. It is now time to bring Major Stephen Jeeves Wakefield back to the podium to provide his class leader address. The class leader job is assigned to the class senior ranking officer, and it is a job that has more responsibility than authority, as the class leader is responsible for leading from within and passing information between the class and TPS leadership, and often bad news too, right, Jeeves? Jeeves got the privilege of doing all this while simultaneously being a student, along with all of his classmates. I met with Jeeves on a regular basis over the last year, and he never failed to display the kind of leadership and professionalism that we expect of our flight test leaders. Jeeves, thank you for all your hard work as class leader. The floor is yours.
'23 Alpha, testy voice. Congratulations. I know the last thing you all want right now is to hear me pontificate. That said, I do think that our friends and family who joined us today should get to know the class a little bit. You see, one of the unique things about our class is how quickly we bonded as a team, and even more as a family. It seemed like from day 1, or maybe day 4 at our first roll call, the barriers were down. Now, some of the great things about a family is that they have your back no matter what. You can reconnect with them after a time apart without any thought. But most of all, they're in a prime point to point out your strengths and maybe challenge your weaknesses, if you guys have any. You all have been begging for feedback all year, and now Lobo did beat me to the punch a little bit on some of these topics, but I think they bear worth reiterating to your family. So without further ado, in no particular order, and from your own mouths, some comments have been edited for clarity. Here is what you will be remembered for. Odin, you'll be remembered for your endearing oddities. All the songs that got stuck in your head that you decided to share with the class, your finger guns, and the ability to excel at TPS fueled by nothing but Panda, Hot Pockets, and gas station pizza. IFOC is well known for his enthusiasm for big airplanes, and of course his unquenchable thirst for collecting data even in the middle of completely unexpected events. Grinnin is the unstoppable human smiley emoji. He conquers parenthood and TPS and pickleball with a grin that could power a small town. But seriously, the dude smiled through Urbman's beatdowns like they were spa days. Boost will be remembered for being ridiculously positive and always having answers to the weird conceptual questions. And oh yeah, water sausages. Blue will be remembered for his love of audio-visual equipment and his passionate, unbridled, puppy dog-like enthusiasm, especially for things like computer hardware, computer software, computer code. I think you get the idea. Kraken will be remembered for his passion for stamping a kraken's tentacle on everything. I mean, everything. Big Papa is the guy with the weird boots, the golden wings, and if you were to ask, you want to go have some fun this Friday in the town? His answer would be, nope, we have a report due in 3 weeks. I got to work all day Saturday and Sunday. Ripper is a brilliant engineer known for his mastery of keyboard shortcuts, MATLAB prowess, going on long runs in any and all situations, and maintaining intense eye contact. When he stares into your soul, and says, wow, thank you for sharing that, it's hard to tell if he's being sincere or harshly judging you. B-Hop, our class's only government civilian, who despite that position gets more work done than most of us, he can answer any question you have, as long as it's about the Viper. In the evenings, you can find him hard at work, cracking the class keg and whispering, "Go Blue," when his MATLAB script finally runs. Slate will be remembered for being offbeat, off-tone, off lyrics, anytime he was singing with Barking Brad and the Warning Tones. I'm just kidding, Slate. That's a 10% truth. You definitely wooed the entire class. Felon, we knew that you were destined for success the day that you crushed Compressible Arrow by day and were in the trunk of an SUV crushing Taco Bell by night. Sloth is a dedicated test pilot. He's always going to be the last one to leave from work and not have any weekends because he's rehearsing his flights, regardless if it's a normal daily ride or a check ride, also with his test conductor, at least 23 times. Moab was always eager to work hard also, especially on Saturdays, and he was so steadfastly dedicated to test efficiency that he suggested to perform on a check ride 2 test cards simultaneously and at the same time. The instructors were so impressed, they got to do it again. Grimes will be remembered for the trials and travails of being a single cat father. I never knew that getting a cat neutered could cause so much strife mere minutes before the start of class. Slab will be forever regarded as a corn sensei. He claims to have been classically trained in the art of corn making, but we all actually know that he just asked ChatGPT. Although Koo is the smartest man in France, it still took him all year to figure out how to play Manchester. Either that or he just likes getting slapped by Fuji. And speaking of Fuji, Fuji is going to be remembered for his quippy remarks during lectures, making them more enjoyable. Also now, Fuji, I'm sorry, you're a non-Viper pilot. It's kind of like B-Hop calling himself a pilot. Rolex came into TPS as a chemistry maestro, which turned heads and raised eyebrows a little bit, but he didn't let that hold him back. He leveled the playing field through his secret weapon, flashcards. Slip will be remembered for his entertaining IADS debriefs. You see, when the purple line hits the green line as he points to a red line and a blue line. Now, if you ever need to find Tiger, just go around looking for a guy wearing a cowboy hat and holstering a Nerf gun. I'm pretty sure that Tiger only studied so that he can ensure he would make it to the next roll call and lay down a barrage of Nerf darts. Cal is going to be remembered for overcoming the odds. Despite his South Carolina education, he somehow managed to smooth talk his way all the way from the back row to graduation night. And Cyclops is a one-eyed skiing fiend who already knew everything that TPS had to teach us. But he showed up every day anyway, even though there's no actual Wizzo syllabus. And finally, Torch will convince you through his unparalleled ability to tell a story that you're a loser if you're not riding a pair of F-119s in the air. However, all modern modes of ground-based transportation are clearly inferior to the 17th century invention consisting of 2 wheels and pedals. So now that everyone knows the class a little bit better, I wanted to shift the focus to the real heroes in the room. The class may have come together as a family, but what really happened was all of our families came together as one giant family, or maybe a literal village. I hear there may even be some arranged marriages in the works. With 26 children, counting those who are in attendance via their mothers tonight, that village was 100% necessary. We don't say it often enough, but to the spouses and families of Class 23 Alpha, thank you. It's not lost on us, as a class, the sacrifices that you have made to allow us to do what we do. We know that the late nights, the missed meals, the non-existent weekends were all frustrating, but your support allowed us to succeed as a class, all 24 of us. So now, as a class will be making their way to present those who supported them with a token of appreciation. Please direct your attention to the screen to get to know our village a little bit better. Gracie, let's roll the tapes.
Who was the best pilot I ever saw? Begin by telling us, who was the best pilot you ever saw? Well, I'll tell you. Who was the best pilot I ever saw? Well, I'll tell you. I've seen a lot of them. And most of them are just pictures on a wall. Back at some place that doesn't even exist anymore.
Mr. Cooper,
And some of them are right here in this room.
gotta be a great pilot.
And some of them are they're still out there somewhere, doing what they always do, going up each day in a hurtling piece of machinery, putting their hides out on a line, hanging it out over the edge, pushing back the outside of that envelope and hauling it back in.
23 Alpha. Class 23 Alpha, please stand. Mr. David Van Hoy, as the faculty of the Test Pilot School tested these degree candidates and found that they have met all requirements for the Master of Science in Flight Test Engineering degree. Then, on behalf of the Air University Commander, by virtue of the authority vested in him by the Congress of the United States, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Master of Science in Flight Test Engineering with all the rights, honors, privileges, and responsibilities here and everywhere pertaining to this degree. '23 Alpha graduates, please be seated. Major General Dertine, would you please join me on the stage for the presentation of graduation plaques and individually numbered round metal objects. Graduates, as your name is called, please come to the stage to receive your plaque and RMOs.
Major Edward Odin Arts, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. Odin graduated from Rice University with a master's degree in mechanical engineering and from the United States Air Force Academy with a bachelor's degree in aeronautical engineering. Odin would like to thank his fiancée, Kendall, family, and friends for their love and support throughout the last year. He would also like to thank the members of 23 Alpha, instructors, and staff for making TPS an incredible experience. Lastly, Odin would like to thank God for all of the blessings received this year. Odin is assigned to the 40th Flight Test Squadron at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, where he will test the F-15. Captain Horatio Ifock Babcock, Experimental Flight Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Ifock graduated from the Air Force Institute of Technology with a master's degree in aeronautical engineering. He also graduated from Michigan Technological University with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. Ifock would like to thank his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for redeeming his life and providing everything he has. He would like to thank his wonderful wife, Claire, for her unwavering, faithful, patient perseverance through the last year. Finally, Ifock would like to thank the TPS staff for their dedication to our education and his 23 Alpha classmates for making the year at TPS full of great memories. Ifock is assigned to the 419th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California. Captain Lane Grinnan Barrett, Experimental Flight Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Grinnan graduated from the Air Force Institute of Technology with a master's degree in aeronautical engineering and the U.S. Air Force Academy with a bachelor's degree in aeronautical engineering. Grinnan would like to thank his wife, Melissa, for making this year a possibility, caring for Kayleigh and Clay, and carrying our third little one. He'd also like to express his gratitude for the support of his family, community, and the amazing class of 23 Alpha, and most importantly to God for his faithfulness and graciousness throughout the year. Grinnan is assigned to the F-35 Joint Program Office in Washington, D.C., where he will get to balance costs, schedule performance, and dictate Rolex's future testing. Captain Alexander Boost Brown, Experimental Flight Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Boost graduated from the Virginia Polytechnic and State University with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, and from the Air Force Institute of Technology with a master's degree in aeronautical engineering. Boost would like to thank his wife, Victoria, for her love and support. This would not have been possible without it. He would also like to thank his kids, Emmett and Cody, for their love and coping with his long hours away from home. Every step of the way, their support was indispensable. Boost is assigned to the 416th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will test the F-16 Viper. First Lieutenant Noah Blue Diamond, Experimental Flight Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Blue graduated from the Air Force Institute of Technology with a master's degree in computer engineering and the U.S. Air Force Academy with a bachelor's degree in computer engineering. Blue extends his heartfelt gratitude to his beloved wife, Molly, as well as his cherished family and friends for their unwavering support and encouragement throughout the past year. A special acknowledgement is also extended to the dedicated TPS instructors and faculty whose contributions made 2023 at TPS truly exceptional. Lastly, Blue wishes to express his deep appreciation to his classmates who not only took him under their wing, but also played an integral role in their journey. He feels truly blessed to have been a part of such an incredible group of individuals and eagerly looks forward to the future achievements of Class 23 Alpha. And of course, if anyone is in need of audiovisual expert, you know who to call. Blue is assigned to the 46th Test Squadron at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, where he will test cybersecurity and cyber resiliency of Air Force systems. Major David Kraken Dunkel, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. Kraken graduated from Trident University with an MBA and from the United States Air Force Academy with a bachelor's degree in economics and a bachelor's degree in operations research. Kraken would like to thank God, his wife Haley, for their constant support throughout this year, and his two daughters for always being ready to cheer Daddy up with big smiles. Kraken is assigned to the 420th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, where he will test the B-21. Lieutenant Orion Big Papa Floret, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Navy. Big Papa graduated from Clemson University with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. Big Papa would like to thank his amazing wife Leslie and his mother Deborah for their unwavering support throughout his life and at TPS. Their encouragement, patience, and love have been instrumental in helping him achieve his goals, and he could not have done it without them. Big Papa is assigned to the VX-31 Dust Devils at Naval Air Weapons Station, China Lake, California, where he will test the FA-18 Super Hornet. Captain Prayant Ripper Hondra, Experimental Flight Test Engineer, United States Air Force. Ripper graduated from the United States Air Force Academy with a bachelor's degree in physics and the Air Force Institute of Technology with a master's degree in optical engineering. Ripper would like to thank his fiancée, Nyanika, for her support, patience, and encouragement throughout the year. He would also like to thank his family for being here today and their steadfast faith in him. Lastly, he would like to give a huge shout out to the class for getting him through the year despite all of the smoke and fumes in the cockpit. 23 Alpha has been the best group to work, learn, and grow with. Ripper is assigned to the 452nd Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California to test drones and stuff, which thankfully for the pilots do not have cockpits, and thankfully for him will allow for unlimited access to bathrooms. Mr. Brian B-Hop Hopton, Experimental Flight Test Engineer, United States Air Force. B-Hop graduated from the University of Michigan with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and from the University of Southern California with a master's degree in systems engineering. B-Hop would like to thank his wife, Lauren, for her love and support, and his sons, Eli and Joseph, for always welcoming home with a smile and a hug at the end of a long TPS day. He would also like to thank his parents, Greg and Lisa, for being great role models. Finally, he would like to thank Class 23 Alpha for being a great group of guys to work, fly, golf, snowboard, joke, party, complain, and learn with throughout the year. B-Hop is assigned to the 40th Flight Test Squadron at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, where he will shape the future of AI flight test. Major Brad Slate Hovey, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. Slate graduated from Iowa State University with a bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering. Slate would like to thank his wonderful wife, Megan. Her patience, support, encouragement, and love has made this challenging year manageable. He would also like to thank his two wonderful children, Grace and Henry. Their bright light has made every day more enjoyable, and he appreciates their patience when Daddy needs to study. To his family, he would like to say thank you for a lifetime of love and support and for attending today to share in his achievement. Finally, he would like to thank the class of 23 Alpha for their support, gouge, shenanigans, and friendship throughout the year. Slade is assigned to the 419th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, where he will test the B-52 Stratofortress. First Lieutenant Gordon Felon McCullough, Experimental Flight Test Engineer, United States Air Force. United States Space Force. Felon graduated from the United States Air Force Academy with a bachelor's degree in astronautical engineering and applied mathematics. He then received his master's degree in aeronautics and astronautics from the University of Washington. Felon would like to thank his family and friends for supporting him from afar throughout the year. He would also like to thank Blue for being a kind roommate and LPA wingman over the past 20 months. Colonel Bandit Neff and Colonel Beaker Wickert also deserve gratitude for their willingness to send a couple young lieutenants through the test pilot school, as do the T-38 maintainers who fixed the flaps Felon broke. Lastly, Felon would like to thank his classmates and instructors for teaching him quite literally everything he knows about airplanes. Felon will continue to make adequate popcorn at the 746th Test Squadron at Holloman Air Force Base, where he will revolutionize aerospace navigation in the mighty C-12. Captain Sami Sloth Nissanen, experimental test pilot, Finnish Air Force. Sloth graduated from the Finnish National Defense University with a master's degree in military sciences. Sloth would like to thank his wife, Jani, for all her love, support, and encouragement she has provided through the year. He would also like to thank the TPS staff for all the instructions and all his 23 Alpha classmates for being a great team to work with. Sloth is assigned to the Air Combat Center at Satakunta Air Wing in Finland, where he will test the F-18 Hornet. Captain Jacob Moab Olson, experimental flight test engineer, United States Space Force. Moab expresses sincere gratitude to his wife Jenna for steadfast support during his academic journey, navigating challenges with her love and understanding. He equally appreciates the joy brought by his two boys, Ezra and Emmett, and the inspiration from baby girl Eloise. Moab acknowledges his family's role as a driving force in his success and looks forward to the next chapter with their continued love. He also extends heartfelt appreciation to family members who traveled to celebrate his graduation, valuing their cherished presence and support. Moab is assigned to the 780th Test Squadron at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, where his responsibilities will include testing and evaluating various weapons systems. Captain Cameron Grimes Powell, experimental RPA test pilot, United States Air Force. Grimes graduated from Ohio University with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. He has flown the MQ-1 and MQ-9 at Creech Air Force Base, Nevada, before instructing at the MQ-9 schoolhouse at Holloman Air Force Base, New Mexico. Grimes would like to thank his partner Tanya for her perpetual support in his career and for her patience this past year. His parents for instilling a love of aviation, and his friends and family for their lifetime encouragement. Grimes is assigned to the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center, Detachment 3 at Gray Butte, California, where he will test remotely piloted aircraft. Major Robert Slab Ritchie, experimental test pilot, United States Air Force. Slab graduated from the University of Minnesota with a Master of Science in Aerospace Engineering. Slab would like to thank his wife, Dr. Ritchie, for her unending love and patience. He would also like to thank all his family and friends for making the trip all the way to Edwards. And finally, to the back row. Can't lose. Slab is assigned to the 416th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will test the F-16 Viper. Major Hadrian Q. Schneider, experimental flight test engineer, Direction Générale de l'Armement. Q graduated from the École Polytechnique in Paris, France, with a master's degree in fluid mechanics and from Institut Supérieur de l'Aérotechnique et de l'Espace in Toulouse, with a master's degree in fluid dynamics and aeronautics. Q would like to thank his friends and family for their encouragement and support. He would also like to thank his Dodge Challenger for bringing him to school every day. This journey would not have been possible without it. Eventually, he would like to thank his classmates from 23 Alpha from an amazing year and hope he will have the opportunity to meet them again. Q is assigned to the fixed-wing flight test squadron at the Direction Générale de l'Armement, Essai-en-Vol in Ist, France, where he will test the Rafale and Mirage 2000. Major Aaron Fuji Seafried, experimental test pilot, United States Air Force. Fuji graduated from Wright State University with a bachelor's and master's degree in electrical engineering with a focus in control systems. Fuji must express extreme gratitude to his awesome wife Jessica for the loving care and support in the years leading up to and attending test pilot school. Without her, none of this would be possible. He would also like to thank his daughter Abigail and son Isaiah for providing him a will to live over the last 339 days. Fuji would like to thank the class for their hard work and camaraderie this year. And lastly, to Kirkland Signature Breakfast Blend Light Roast Coffee. You're the real MVP. Fuji is assigned to the 416th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will test the F-16 Fighting Falcon and T-7 Red Hawk. Major Kyle Rolex Swartz, experimental test pilot, United States Air Force. Rolex graduated from the University of North Carolina with a bachelor's degree in chemistry. Rolex would like to thank his wife Laura for her constant love, support, and dedication as a wife and mother. He would also like to thank his parents, family, and TPS instructors and staff. Additionally, he would like to thank Lieutenant Colonel retired Douglas Rosie Rosenstock for encouraging him to apply to TPS and advocating for him throughout the process. Additionally, he would like to thank the students and families of 23 Alpha for being such awesome friends and teammates. Rolex is assigned to the 461st Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will test the F-35 Panther and follow Grinnon's instructions to a T, just like he did previously in the mighty C-12. Captain Ethan Slip Thomas, experimental flight test engineer, United States Air Force. Slip graduated from the Air Force Academy with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering and the University of Arkansas with a Master of Science in Engineering Management. Slip would like to thank his wife Abigail for her unconditional love and support and the strength she has shown in sacrifice throughout the year. His son Riker for always cheering him on, and his family and friends without whom this year would not be possible. Captain Guy Tiger Todaro, experimental RPA test pilot, United States Air Force. Tiger graduated from the University of Cincinnati with a bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering. Tiger would like to thank his wife Inga for her constant love, support, and sacrifice during this year apart. He would also like to thank his family, Lisa, Robert, Jennifer, and Miranda, for being here today, and thank those who couldn't be here. Everybody's support facilitated reaching his dream. Tiger is assigned to the 452nd Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will test remotely piloted aircraft. Major Richard Cal Tyner, experimental test pilot, United States Air Force. Cal graduated from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University with a bachelor's degree in aeronautical science. He is currently completing his master's degree in airworthiness engineering at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Cal would like to thank his beautiful wife, Anna Weston Tyner, for her endless support during TPS. She has been there every step of the way during the past 20 years and constantly cheered him on. None of this was possible without her. He would also like to thank his mother, Cynthia, and his father, Rick, for showing their unwavering pride and support. Lastly, he would like to thank his dear friends and family here in attendance, the 317th Airlift Squadron for making this dream a reality, and the truly talented gentlemen of Class 23 Alpha. It has been an honor. Cal is assigned to the 418th Flight Test Squadron here at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will return to the C-17 and test other large aircraft in the Air Force inventory. Major Kevin Cyclops Uwenton, experimental test combat systems officer, United States Air Force. Cyclops graduated from your United States Air Force Academy with a bachelor's degree in astronautical engineering and mathematics. Additionally, he received his master's degree in aerospace engineering from the University of Washington. Cyclops would like to thank his wife Siri and son Shaviv for their love and sacrifice during this challenging year at TPS. He would also like to thank his parents Mark and Eileen for their encouragement throughout his life. Additionally, he is appreciative for all of the support he received from his family, friends, and mentors. Finally, he would like to thank his 23 Alpha classmates for making the year at TPS full of great memories. Cyclops will continue his flight test career at Afotech Detachment 5 at Edwards Air Force Base, testing the T-7 trainer aircraft. Major Jonathan Torch Weed, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. Torch graduated from the United States Air Force Academy with a bachelor's degree in astronautical engineering and from the University of Washington with a master's degree in aeronautics and astronautics. Torch would like to thank his wife Claire for warming up to desert life, sacrificing weekend adventures, and supporting him at the end of each day with delicious food and a smile. He would also like to thank his parents, Kathy and Wendell, for accepting him as the only non-doctor in the family. Finally, he would like to thank his dog, Theo, for reminding him that life's failures can always be remedied with a Frisbee. Torch is assigned to the 411th Flight Test Squadron at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where he will test the F-22 Raptor. Major Stephen Jeeves Wakefield, Experimental Test Pilot, United States Air Force. Jeeves graduated from the Air Force Academy with a bachelor's degree in physics and mathematics. Additionally, he received his master's degree in applied physics from the Air Force Institute of Technology. Jeeves would like to thank Jesus Christ, his Lord and Savior, from whom all blessings flow. Additionally, he would like to thank his wife Sarah for all of her love and support throughout the hectic moves. You really are the one that sacrifices while I have all the fun. He would also like to thank his daughter, Charlotte, for sacrificing her daddy-daughter playtime. Don't worry, we'll get some beach time soon. Finally, he would like to thank Class 23 Alpha. I couldn't have asked for better teammates. Jeeves is assigned to the 417th Flight Test Squadron at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, where he will return to his first love, testing the MC-130 along with all other C-130s. Major General Drutine and Colonel Valpiani, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the graduating class and the TPS staff, I would like to thank you for sharing this very special day with us. Please join me in a final round of applause for our newest group of flight test leaders. Class 23 Alpha, you are dismissed.